Yes, excellent. Welcome. January 13th, as I just hit the record button. Oh, great to hear, Carrie. Great to hear. That's always the purpose, is to give you tools, ideas, suggestions that you can make some money, right? Can everybody see my charts okay? All right, great. Thanks, John. Good to see you, Jim. All right, so I've got a pretty packed agenda that I want to go over today. We've got a lot going on, obviously, and so I wanted to give you first and foremost big picture, what I'm seeing still. Then go over some of my favorite trade setups. Open it up for some questions as well. Okay. All right. So first and foremost, I think again when you look at the S&P, today price is pushing higher a little bit. You just blow that up for you. Okay, we're going to retest those highs more than likely here in the next day or two. But again, it should be, no real surprise, right? Because, sorry, I was showing somebody something and I got stuff in there I don't like. Okay. So as I was showing somebody, there's this type of move, right? It's very, very predictable. And so that's why most of my trades have been long plays, right? Just because I personally like to go in the direction of the overall market conditions. And even though we have a lot of negative news out there, the market's driving higher. Retailer traders are continuing to short the market. Okay. So you can see all the buying coming in at these wicks. Okay. We're not even getting a retracement to the middle band yet, for crying out loud. Right. So why fight this, right? Let's go with the direction of it when we're taking these type of trades. One thing I want to just mention, blow this up just a tad as well. So typically what happens is once we get into mid-February, we have about a 1 month, 4 to 6 week decline in the market. Okay. So last year we obviously went lower, and everybody says it was COVID, and certainly the extent of the move down was due to COVID, but the markets were ready anyway. Okay. Again, they typically fall mid-February into mid-March before we get that next move up. Okay. So I'm expecting the same thing to happen here. I'm expecting us to continue higher, big picture, right? Not every day. Hit new highs, continue to hit new highs. Maybe we're eventually going to get some sort of pullback, at least to the middle band again, and then we'll probably peak, roughly middle of February before we have a retracement. Okay, so that's how I'm playing that. You can see here on the ES we had some bullish, I should say, bearish divergence here, and since then we've gone sideways on 3 days. So again, I'm not looking to short bearish divergence here when this massive uptrend with seasonal long. But it tells me with no surprise we're consolidating again before that next move up, more than likely. Okay. If you take a look at the VIX, it's just very stable. Okay, nothing out of the ordinary, which again is what we like to see for normal trading. We like the VIX to be just kind of hanging out with us, right? We'll look at the Qs next. So you can see here on the Qs again, heading higher today now. Very, very bullish activity. It's going to look almost identical to the S&P. Okay, so again, reason I'm taking from an individual stock standpoint, mostly longs, because I believe with sentiment being retailers are shorting the market, seasonal long, lots of massive uptrends. For me, there's no reason to go against that. Okay. All right, dollar index. So again, we've had a retracement back up to the top band. Now we may, right, we may start turning back again. I mentioned I prefer shorts on the dollar index until late January. So this 3 or 4 day retracement back up could be a good selling opportunity again to test these recent lows. You know, Hakanachi, if it stays like this today, right, we'll keep a red candle. Granted, it's a really indecision candle. I would want to see one more candle red to get a red dot here before I want to take this. My only caution would be, again, there's only so much room to run here, right? But it is making lower lows here. So, you know, maybe we head up to that 89 level or down to the 89 level, or maybe it keeps running kind of a blow off before we change direction. But, you know, this is going to be a good opportunity here, in my opinion, for another short play. Okay. All right, any questions on the dollar index, let me know, okay? All right, so what else we got going on? So let's look at oil. I'll look at the USO for that, okay? So again, remember that we've been in obviously a really strong uptrend in oil, okay? And when you look at the seasonal side of things, from left to right, from October to right about January, we typically have a move down. That's what this white line is, okay? This is giving me, at the time, the forecast of what normally happens based off the last 10 years of seasonality, right? I think we talked about this last week. It's a very important concept. So price normally goes down and price has gone opposite this year, right? It has not been following its seasonal pattern. So because of that, this particular short play in December, I did not take it. Okay, even though we had a seasonal window that was short, price was much stronger than that. It's not acting normal. So you don't take those trades, folks, you wait. So now what I'm looking for is I want to see a retracement and then look for the long play in February for a couple of weeks, okay? Because we've been in this really good uptrend. So if we get that retracement, okay, then I'll look to go long. But I'm not looking for shorts yet on oil. All right, I've had a lot of questions on Bitcoin. A lot of you are looking to make your living in Bitcoin, right? So what I mentioned last week was typically when we had higher, but then in January it starts to roll over. And this is a pretty good potential blow off top right here, okay? Hakanachi's now gone, you know, to the downside. Was tempted to do some Bitcoin shorts, okay? You know, which again would be like GBTC. There's quite a few. This one doesn't have options, okay? I was tempted. But again, the reason I didn't was we've been in this massive uptrend. So you're really fighting the trend. So what I'm looking for is this continue down, pull back, have a higher low or lower high, I should say, right? Then that would be my entry. So I'm being patient on Bitcoin right now, okay? One suggestion, you know, you could take a look at some things that, you know, could be highly correlated with Bitcoin. Things that can be, you know, certainly trading the futures. If you wanted to trade the futures in Bitcoin, you have to have 100,000 margin in a contract, okay? That's what's crazy. Just send me an email and I'll make sure you're taken care of. Yeah, Riot. Yeah, exactly. Riot's a good one. Absolutely. Absolutely. And so, I'm looking for a crash. And I mean that when I say crash, I mean a pretty nice downward, at least a 50% retracement on Bitcoin here pretty soon. Then it'll come up and turn back around. We just don't know when. But it's been on the news. It's been making headlines, all-time highs. That's typically a top. But we don't have any indication yet, right? There's nothing telling us yet on Riot, for example. And when you look at, again, going back to GBTC, okay, look at the trend. So the safest plays on these, you can always go in aggressive, right? And this would have been an aggressive entry based off of the trend. But what I really look for in this case is come down, at some point it's going to retrace. And then if it's a lower high, that's always a good way to get back into that trade, okay? Or get into that trade as a more conservative approach, okay? Next week, I'll go over a few different Bitcoin stocks that I like. And when I say Bitcoin, things that are highly correlated with Bitcoin, they're not necessarily actual Bitcoin, okay? All right, any questions on that? Let me know. All right, so I had a few emails this past week on Amazon, okay? So you can see today, we've got the Laguerre just still hanging in. Maybe it'll curve up here in the next day or two. This will probably end up closing green, okay, which would be a first yellow dot on the Hackenacci. So what I'd be waiting for is one more day with the green dot and the Laguerre start heading up to start going long on Amazon, okay? My only hesitation, we're still red on the ADX here, which means it could consolidate some more. But with a seasonal move like this, okay, you may be ready to take that risk of it doing some consolidating, right? One thing I can say with high certainty this year, we'll be hitting new highs on Amazon, okay? So this has given us a potential entry point. It's looking pretty good. Just like Netflix, right? I am waiting patiently, right? Patiently waiting. And that's the thing about having a trading system that you have rules. Okay, let me open that up a little bit for you. So if it closes like this today, this is still indecision to me, okay? But by rule, if it's green, okay, you would have a yellow dot. If the next dot closes with green and the Laguerre is starting to point up or triggered, one of the two, that's a potential entry, okay? And again, though, you just want to be careful because we know it's going to head higher. It typically has every year since it's been around this time of year, but we don't want to jump the gun either, right? We do have earnings on the 19th. So a more conservative method would be wait until after earnings, then you can look for your entries. But with earnings, it could gap up as well as gap down, right? So if I get a trigger before earnings, more than likely I'm going to take it and hang on for the ride, okay? But I realize there's risk involved with that, and you have to be okay with that, okay? Okay, so I just sort by SIG here. Let's take a look at some Laguerre triggers that have a significant move coming. So BX. You can see here, we've got the Laguerre halfway up. That's why it's a light color green. Okay, now we got a green Hackenacci. Okay, this is an opportunity for you. Fairly close to highs. Okay, but it's been in a nice, nice uptrend here. It just has its normal retracement. In this case, what we wait for back to the band. But that's an opportunity. Not my favorite, but it's a decent looking opportunity. Okay, EA. Again, look at that move, folks, on EA. So this is where you can be patient, okay? And again, what I mean by that is today is red. It looks like it's going to close as a red Hackenacci. So I'm not going to enter this yet. I want to wait for the Laguerre either to come above the green right? Or be pointing up like it is and having a green Hakanachi candle. Okay, those are just higher probability entries. Okay, again, it's another one where you're pretty close to these highs, right? Not all-time highs though, but to recent highs. So, you could get caught in some potential consolidation. Just like INO. Okay, this is an example, and I took this last year. I think it was a loser last year. But you can see from left to right, from November to right now, we typically had higher, and it's been heading lower. Okay. Again, if you have to turn your head sideways, it's close enough. In this case, it's obvious to see the actual price, weekly bars going lower versus it should be going higher. So I'm not looking to trade this. Okay, I'm just going to hang on, even though there's a lot of things I like about it, right? It doesn't seem to want to break down past this level. Okay. There's just more risk involved, and it might just consolidate for who knows how long. So I'm going to be skipping INO right now based off of that criteria. Okay. And DHI, you can see DHI had a Laguerre trigger. Pretty good seasonal move on DR Horton. Okay. So again, what you look for in these cases, you got your trigger, right? This tends to be a low here. It could come up back to those 81.21 highs. Okay. Again, high probability trades with triggers. That's what you're looking for. Domino's Pizza triggered on me this week, right? And again, the only risk involved on here, in my opinion, was the ADX consolidating. Okay. So when I took this trade, I went in a third of my normal position, knowing that if this would be a green or even a yellow with not as much rangy movement, okay, I'd go in at a full position. Domino's typically will bust forward. A lot of times it will be around earnings as well. So you can do another longer term play on Domino's Pizza, or you're looking at some PZZA has actually been stronger this year than Domino's, but to me it's already taken off with the combo long here. You see it's kind of taken off. Okay, but I expect Domino's will follow that pattern. Okay. If you're looking at any shorts, let's take a look here. Apache Communication, basically now you look for shorts. Okay. And we had divergence right here. So we'll probably get a retracement now on Apache. Again, not interested in top picking, not interested in short plays. But those of you are, this is a system that can show you those opportunities as well, right? FAZ, again, it's been going down forever. ENDO, again, had a recent high. Now it's coming down like it typically will from a seasonal perspective. HSBC's expected move down. MGM has an expected move down. But again, you're going against the major trends, and I just am not as comfortable doing that, even though, again, these wouldn't be showing up if it hadn't been making money, over the years. So these are good, solid shorts. One strategy you can have if you want to have some longs and shorts, right, then take triggers on both sides that match the seasonal, and then try to get net profits, between the two. So if you have 4 open trades, 2 are long, 2 are short, 3 make you money, at 40%, 1 loses at 40, right? You just made some good money doing it that way. That way, if you're nervous about the environment and what can happen, you can kind of mitigate some of those extra risk factors, okay? Okay, I wanted to show you 3 stocks here. So in Qualcomm, again, right, you see the white line. So basically, we're looking for longs going into December. And again, just want to show you, this is how patient works out, right? So on December 28th, you get a long trigger, okay? And if you're in this trade, Hakanachi, everything else is still saying to stay in this trade, right? No reason to exit at this point. This is where, and again, I appreciate the comments there, Carrie, and that. This is where I think some folks now are making more profits because they're hanging on to trades. There's no reason to say, you know what, I made enough on this trade, I'm going to get out, because the markets don't care when you're not making money, right? They don't just say, here, let me give you some of your money back. So when you can rip the market off and continue higher and make as much off a particular trade, that's what we should be doing. It's maximizing our wins, okay? Maximizing our wins. SLB, right? Another good one that you can see here from December until basically right next week. It's a nice long play, okay? Interesting enough, then it goes short for the rest of the time. But again, the reason I wanted to show you this chart was if you took this trigger, okay, in the past, okay, I would have exited this trade at the high, the next day after the high, because we do usually have retracements after highs at some point anyway, but because of the seasonal short. But the window in time, this could head higher before it heads lower. So now when I'm going to exit the rest of that trade, again, I didn't take this, but if let's say I was in this trade, let's say I would have taken half my 50% profits, half of my position out. Okay, that literally now I would stay in this trade until I either get a yellow or a red dot, because you don't know how far this is going to run. And if you get a few of those runners a year, folks, you're going to be extremely satisfied with your growth, okay? And that's the key. No reason to exit this trade yet, okay? TMO is another great example. Again, great seasonal. So during those, you're just looking to enter, right? I mean, you had an entry back, back here in November. Then you have your second entry back here in January, okay? So again, you've made money on this trade if you were in it. Now we're getting a curve. And if it closes right here, let's say it closed at the end of the day, you have a decision. Do you exit on the yellow dot, one red Hakanachi, or do you want to wait one more day just to make sure that this isn't, this is going to be the top up here, okay? There's no perfect answer. It's up to you and your risk tolerance. If you want to try to stay in trades longer, right, then you want to wait for the second red candle. The other thing you can do if you're holding a longer term option play, looking at the weekly, you can wait for the Hakanachi to turn colors to get out of a trade off the weekly as well for longer term trades, right? Weekly is going to keep you in the trade a little bit longer, obviously. Going back to Bitcoin, you see how you got a couple red dots during this big move up? The weekly's been stable, right? So if you were positioning to stay into a move longer term, there was no reason yet to exit this off the weekly dot, right? The weekly dot. So again, I'm just trying to show you some different ways I look at things. That way you can incorporate what you want into your trading and ignore the rest, okay? There's no perfect answers. Okay, so let me also just kind of sort by 20 here. Scroll down. And I want to look at some of the larger moves coming. So again, APT typically has a nice move coming. See, we had a trigger back here on 1.7. And then we kind of peak up here in February. So this will probably bust up here above, maybe up to 14 here near. You got booking holdings. Again, that's what we look for, right? Hit a new recent high. Now it's doing its retracement. So your strategy should be on something like this. If you want to trade this, wait for the Ligera to curve back up, get a yellow or red or green dot, right? And then that's your re-entry point, especially if it's below the middle Bollinger Band. That could be a really good re-entry, okay? You have to have a plan. That's the key. Have a plan, okay? Okay, what I wanted to do next is show you a couple. So by the way, those of you that have purchased my data mining, the updates will be coming out probably no later than this weekend. Okay, I got the initial data mining. I'm making some adjustments and so forth, but it's just about done. Okay, one of them that came up on the data mining though is Pool Corporation. Okay, so again, beautiful seasonal move here, right? And so what the data mining would tell you is if you just entered off a date, right? That's how you mine. You have to have specific dates. So if you got in on January 20th, you exited on May 12th. This has made you money 25 out of 25 years during this window with a 19% move expected. Okay. So again, how do I use that? Well, I'm looking for triggers now. Okay. So one trigger would have been, because I'll go in at least 2 weeks early at times on data mining. Okay. So the first trigger really during that was right here on 1/7. Okay. It was more an aggressive entry though, because we were above the band and Laguerre, wasn't all the way down here, which again is my favorite. So I'll go in on these if price is giving me a good price. So it didn't give me a good enough price to enter. Okay. So now I'm just waiting. But come on, we're going to get a retracement, folks, right? And when it happens, whatever that is, and we get a new entry based off the rules I'm showing you, okay, this is going to make you money with extremely, extremely high probabilities. Okay. So that's what we look for. And then if you really want to get in more aggressively, right, all you do is you go to that beautiful 4-hour window, right? We had a combo long here at 1 o'clock on Tuesday, right? So obviously we missed that because we're looking at it now. You would just wait for the next one, right? Just have specific rules and follow them. Remember, a little bit more aggressive trade because you're going off a smaller time frame though. But you also know that this thing has historically made some really good money for you, right? And then another one of my solid data mining finds here, and I'm actually in this trade publicly, but kind of explain why. So we have the trigger on 1/8, right? If you entered on 121 on CBRE and exited on May 4th, you've made money 15 out of 16 years with a 22% average profit. Okay. So again, go in early if you get triggers. You can go in a couple weeks early, absolutely. Okay, you just wait. So now we're in. Okay, and I can tell you with extremely high probability, this should make us money. I mean, it's up a little bit already, but I mean, this isn't rocket science, folks. It's just telling you the data, right? And we had a nice retracement to the bottom Bollinger Band. We'll probably hit new highs. Okay, we'll probably hit new highs here in the next, who knows how long, right? High probability trading though, that's what I like to do. Okay, have the data in your favor, go where the institutions typically go, and we should all, be very happy. Okay, so what else do we got today? So, I had a couple questions as well. Let me bring up NVIDIA. So again, NVIDIA was one of those trades where you got a trigger. It's a great seasonal. The only risk is the ADX trending. Are we going sideways, right? But if you can afford it, you get a longer term option play, there's really no risk involved because NVIDIA is going higher, folks. Okay. But again, as a trader that's looking to get in and get out, in 1 to 3 or 4 weeks, be careful if your ADX isn't trending because you want to get in with a trending. It's going to go in the direction typically of the Laguerre. So even though ADX doesn't tell you which direction it's trending, okay, that's how your other indicators tell you that, okay? Absolutely. So let me look at, bring it up here. So lean hog's another, good example here where we'll be heading higher big picture. So now it's easy rules though, right? Come on back, right? It hit, up at this level. Now it's coming back. So now we're just waiting for the gear to start turning back up, give us a green dot, right? And then we're good to go on this, right? Obviously back here, I made a trade on it, made good money. But now to re-enter this, okay, you're just waiting on those specific rules. Risk factor, ADX is red, okay? Not quite as crazy important in the futures market versus stocks, in my opinion. And even though it's showing non-trending here, it's actually been moving fairly nicely, right? So when we get a Laguerre trigger long, I think it'd be a great opportunity for you. Okay. Absolutely. Okay. Is there anything anybody wants me to cover, or any stocks you want me to, or futures or forex you want me to look at? Go ahead and type them in. It worked out. Usually about first 30 minutes, I do all the talking. Hopefully you're not sleeping, and then we get into whatever you want. XOM, okay. Okay. So good. So this is just like when I talked about USO earlier, right? So let's review this. I'm going to blow this up to review it first. Okay. Oops, sorry. Okay. So typically XOM kind of does sideways and it's been stronger. Okay. So it's been stronger than the normal flat move, just like USO. So I'm not excited to all of a sudden, since, in theory, we should be heading lower soon. I'm not looking to take the first trigger short here. So when this Laguerre triggers short, I'm not looking at taking it. What I'd be looking for is come on back, go back higher, be a lower high, and then I will take that second trigger. Okay, that's the safest way to play those type of plays when you're not going with the overall trend and you have a non-typical seasonal. Okay. So VEEV does not have enough seasonal data yet. Okay. So I can't tell you from a seasonal perspective, but what I can tell you is it's not doing a lot. It's kind of consolidating. So if you're a range player, you can maybe play the range, but I'd be careful on an option play with time decay. Okay. And so AXN just hit a new high. So again, predictable move, right? We are getting some potential divergence as well here. But AXN is going to typically head higher. The trigger point was on 1.8. So if you got in there, you're a happy person right now, absolutely. If you're not in it, you need a retracement before you take it, but absolutely only looking for long plays on AAXN. Okay. TRV again hit a new high today, so I'm not looking to get into a trade at new highs, right? But you can see here in October 26th, the week of October 26th, we look to go higher. The trigger was on October 5th. Okay, you can go in 2 weeks early. So this could have been a nice entry based off of that right here. Okay. If you didn't take that trade, the other re-enters are when the gear comes back down and then you get a new green dot. Okay, they're more aggressive trades, but you can do it that way as well. And then here is the next entry right here. Okay. So you have defined rules on these. Just wait for your entry, and if you're close to new highs or above the middle Bollinger Band, with there's so many stocks to trade that have great seasonal move. Be picky. Okay, just like when you picked your significant other, you're picky, right? Oh, excellent, John. All right, plug. Everybody should have took this trade, right? No, but so again, I mean, just following the rules. You got a seasonal long, right? So your first trigger was on 11.3. A second potential trigger is on 12.8, and then a recent trigger right here on 1.6. Okay, so again, just following the rules. You had 3 solid trades there in the direction of the seasonal with the Laguerre and Hackenacci dots, right? Again, not every trade works. I wish they did, but you're giving yourself high probability opportunities, and that's really what you need to do. Okay. Anything else you want me to look at? All right. One of the things too is, let me talk a little bit. I'm going to bring up some of the. I guess we'll have time now. Then let me bring up some of the crypto. When I call it crypto, it's not really. But what they are is they're stocks that have been pretty highly correlated with Bitcoin. Okay. And what I just want to show you is, there's ways now to trade safer. So, Discover Financial Services, this looks a lot like the Bitcoin chart, okay? And so when you get retracements, okay, instead of trading something real expensive, you can trade some of these. So, take a look at some of these, and I'll go more over it next week. But like ON's a good one, okay? It's a semiconductor. OR, look how well OR is mapping to Bitcoin. So, if this big move comes down like I'm expecting on Bitcoin, I might be able to trade it with OR. Okay, they have good options on OR as well. Okay, we already got our trigger here, but again, these are just some opportunities. You can see my watch list here. Some have options, some don't. We talked about block. Let me bring up, VSH. This has a seasonal short coming. So, as Bitcoin falls, this may fall harder. SBNY. So I'm going to start keeping more of an eye on these and add more. Pan Am Silver, for whatever reason, follows Bitcoin really nicely. So, sure, absolutely. Let me take a look. So GMAB. So we're at new highs today. So I would wait for a retracement if you're going to take it. Okay. If you're in the trade, wait until you get a red dot to get out. Be careful on these really cheap stocks. They can be obviously really volatile. They're not proven. But, if you just look at the way, Hackenacci seems to be making some profits for you, but there's not enough data for me to even, give too much of an opinion on that. Costco's getting close, right? It's another great example where we're just patient, right? We don't know for sure if we're going to get a trigger yet on Costco. Today is even still undecided on whether it's going to be green or red. But if it closes green, and then the next bar closes green, and we get a green dot, and the Laguerre at that point is trending up, there's your entry on Costco. Absolutely. Okay. And again, only risk depending on how long you do it. We're not in a very trending environment right now with that ADX, right? So you could get into the trade and could go sideways for a while. So if I was going to do a longer term play like until November, I wouldn't worry about it as much. Just be cautious of that. Okay. Okay, so let's see here. I want to bring up one other watch list here just to see something real quick. I don't know if as I mentioned last week, the Thinkorswim's been very slow lately, very frustrating at times. Where is it? there's a bigger list here I'm bringing up. Sure, I can bring up a couple of these while we're waiting. So ADAP. So again, not enough seasonal data to really let you know. But speaking of that, look at ADP. So ADP's got a nice long play coming, right? And it's making this retracement like it always does, right? Beautiful uptrend, retracement. ADP is going to give us a good long play here soon, okay? Kirby, I haven't looked at spreads with Hakanachi just because I haven't looked at a lot of spreads lately, okay? So RBOB, again, when you have a seasonal move like that, if you want to get in, the last entry would have been when it went from red back to yellow back to green. 1228 was the last good entry point off the daily, right? You'd still be in it, or you can go to that 4 hour. The one before that was on November 4th. Okay, so again, it's just being patient. That's why I trade all three markets. I always have triggers because you got stocks, you've got futures, you got Forex. I mean, it's just really, what, be selective, be selective. Not a bad little trend on WOW. Yep, yep. So again, need a retracement though. If you're taking that, obviously. You see it's still loading. It's ridiculous how slow it's been lately. So I know a few of you've had this, many of you've had the same issue. It's not your computers. Something's going on with Thinkorswim. All right, and so kind of as a conclusion then, just as an example here. So, Acadia. Now we've gone kind of into the red on ADX. We know it's going to head higher from historical seasonality anyway. We've been in an uptrend, okay? So again, the best bet here is if you're going to get into a trade like this, do a longer term play to give you that time on your side, or just wait, let it break out, come back, then you can get your entry, with more movement. And that's really kind of the key is don't just focus on, one or two different stocks and, force things, really take advantage of what it's going to give you. So, here's an example where I missed this Apple trade right here because I didn't take it because of the ADX, okay? It moved up, it's made its money, but now it's retraced. Now the ADX is yellow. On the next trigger, this could be my entry to get into the Apple trade, right? So that's what patience is all about. Especially if you're doing this to grow your accounts, to do it for a living, or just to do it for the rest of your life in conjunction with retirement, or you've got a plan to retire in 5 or 10 years of work, of a real job. Patience is what'll do that for you, and you can do it. It's not anything that can't be done. You just got to be patient and follow rules, just like you would follow rules at work. Okay. All right, folks. Well, again, this is recorded. We will send it out. Jim, okay. Let me find out on that. That seems odd. Absolutely. Let me find out on that then. And if anybody has any questions, email me and we'll go from there. But, again, big picture, I think we'll be higher next week at this time than this week again. If and when we get a little bit of a pullback, that's going to be a good buying opportunity, in my opinion, versus a selling opportunity. Absolutely. Yeah, Kirby, I would take care of that for sure. All right, folks. Again, just email me the questions and I'm more than happy to answer those. And other than that, folks, have a great rest of the day, and I will find out about that, Jim. I'm not sure why. All right. Thanks again, everybody. See you next week. Take care.